Hello everyone, my name is Josh Barron, certified instructor here at Midwest Truck Driving School. Now today we're going to go through how to inspect a trailer. What are we looking for, and what do we need to keep an eye on to make sure that trailer is safe as we go down the road. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get started. All right, first, when we're looking at the trailer here, we're going to be looking at our glad hand seals. You can see the glad hand seals here, glad hand seals there. Notice we have the red and the blue line. The red line is always going to be on the outside, and the blue line is going to be our service line, which is also called our control line and our signal line. That's going to correspond with the service brake. And then we have our electrical pigtail right here as well. This front part of the trailer is known as the header board. So we're going to check our header board to make sure it's not cracked, bent, or broken. It's not bowed out. And we want to make sure it's doing what its job, which is to make sure to block any forward movement of cargo, potentially speaking. As we look underneath our trailer, we can see our kingpin right here. We're going to check our kingpin to make sure it's securely mounted, not cracked, bent, or broken, no welds other than factory. And then here we have our apron, which is everything around the kingpin. We want to make sure that's securely mounted, not cracked, bent, or broken, and no welds other than factory. As we go down the side of our trailer here, we can see our Conspicuity tape on the side of our trailer. And we're going to make sure that's in good working order all the way down the side of our trailer, as well as our back of our trailer when we get down to that neck of the woods. As we come along the side right here, we're going to come to our landing gear. So our landing gear, first of all, we're going to make sure our handle is in the secured latch position, which it is. Then we're going to check our K-frame right here. I want to make sure it's securely mounted, not cracked, bent, or broken. Then I'll check my feet to make sure my feet, in this case, they're fully lowered all the way down to the ground. The pads are not cracked, bent, or broken, and everything is securely mounted. A lot of bolts here. Everything looks like it's in good shape. As we come down the side of our trailer, once again, we'll be looking at that Conspicuity tape down the side of our trailer, and we have a running light and reflector right here. And we're also going to look at the lower frame rail and the upper frame rail here. We're going to check our frame rails to make sure they are securely mounted, not cracked, bent, or broken. And we're going to check the cross members for the same thing and to make sure there's no holes in the floor here either, which, as you can see, it looks to be in fairly good shape. As we come to the back of our trailer tandems here, we're going to go ahead and start with our brakes down here. Now, the acronym I like to use is CHAD. We're going to CHAD the brakes. The C stands for brake chamber. You can see that here and here. We're going to check the brake chamber, make sure it's securely mounted, not cracked, bent, or broken, and not leaking. And then we're going to check the hoses and the lines. So we can see these little lines right here. The small ones up here are going to be our ABS lines, and then these are going to be our hoses, actually what the air runs through to engage our brakes. So check our hoses to make sure they're not cut, frayed, or weather checked or leaking, and our ABS lines to make sure they're secure at both ends with no bare wires showing. Next, we're going to check our slack adjuster and push rod. So you can see that right here, our push rod right here, as well as our slack adjuster right here. As you can see, this is an automatic slack adjuster. So we're going to check that to make sure it's resting at approximately 90-degree angle, that the pins are in, and the slack adjuster has no more than 1 inch of play. Really, really important. We can see no more than the pins are in there. It isn't bent or cracked, so everything looks good there. Next, we're going to check our drum and our lining. So we can see that right here, our drum and our lining. Want to make sure our drum is not cracked, bent, or broken, no fluid on the drum, and the lining to make sure there's a minimum quarter-inch of pad and not worn dangerously thin. So you see that lining is starting to get down there, but I can still see the quarter-inch wear mark, so I know it is good to go. From there, let's go to our suspension components. So we have our front leaf spring mount right here. I want to make sure this is securely mounted, not cracked, bent, or broken, no welds other than factory. We'll check our leaf springs here to make sure they are securely mounted, not cracked, bent, or broken, no missing leaves. And then on this side over here, we have, I see some shocks as well as an airbag. So check the airbag here to make sure it's securely mounted at both the top and the bottom now. And the airbag is made of rubber, so make sure it's not cut, frayed, or weather checked or leaking. Next, we're going to go to our shock here. Kind of hard to see. Let me see if I can get right in here a little bit and see it a little bit better. There you go. You can kind of see it right over there. So we check our shock to make sure it's secure at both the top and the bottom mount, and that it isn't cracked, bent, or broken, and it is not leaking. So you can see that right there as well. All right, we'll back off of here. And now we're gonna go to our tandem release arm. So this is a pneumatic tandem release arm. So we want to make sure that's in the locked position, which it is, and that our pins are in the locked position. See the pin right there, and then you see the pin right here. Both of those are in the locked position. That's really, really important. You don't want to be going down the road with your pins unlocked. Next, we're going to check our tires. So one thing I like to do is ICD the tires. I stands for inflation. We can do so with a tire gauge right here. C stands for condition. Now we're looking at cuts, frays, weather checking, leaking, or bulging. And then D, tread depth. We want a minimum 2/32 of an inch of tread in our trailer tandems, which you can see we got plenty of tread there. Next, because these are duals, we're gonna check our bud spacing right here. We're gonna check our bud spacing to make sure it isn't cracked, bent, or broken. It's keeping the tires evenly spaced with nothing lodged in between the duals, which we can see that's in good shape there too. Next, we'll check our lug nuts. I wanna make sure all of our lug nuts are present and that they're tight. If they were loose, you could tell by rust streaks or shiny metal. And then next we'll check our axle bolts to make sure they're present and tight. If they were loose, you could tell by rust streaks or shiny metal. Then we'll check our axle seal to make sure it's securely mounted, not leak on the front or the backside of the tire. Next we'll check our rim. Our rim, as you can see, this one's pretty rusty, but that doesn't hurt anything as long as there's no cracks. It's not cracked, it's not bent, it's not broken, and no welds other than factory on our rim. As we come back here, once again, we're checking that Conspicuity tape as we go to the back here. Then we'll check our mud flap to make sure our mud flap is no cuts or gouges out of the mud flap and that it's securely mounted. And then we'll check our ABS light. We're gonna make sure that is not on and check the wires to make sure everything is working properly. And then we have our running light, tail light back here. And then this brings us to the back of the trailer. So the back of the trailer here, as you can see, we're gonna check our Conspicuity tape here, Conspicuity tape here, as well as Conspicuity tape up here and up here. I wanna make sure it's all present and in good working order. Then check all my hinges, all my doors, and I'll make sure they are in the locked, latched position here, as well as up top here. And everything looks good. And I would check my doors to make sure they're not cracked, bent, or broken, no holes in the door. And then check my hinges all the way up to make sure my hinges are in good condition. And then up top, I see 3 clearance lights. So we're gonna turn those on, make sure those are working properly, as well as my tail lights, my running lights, my blinkers, my 4-way flashers, and my brake lights back here. Make sure all that's working properly. And we're gonna double check to make sure that it is. Next, we're gonna check my chain right here, as well as my hook right here to make sure that it is in good working order and everything's where it needs to be. So at this point, you know, I would go ahead and check everything on this side of the trailer as I just checked on that side of the trailer. So I checked my tires the same, my rims, my brakes, my suspension components, my Conspicuity tape, my frame and frame rails, all that good stuff. That more or less concludes how we check a DOT FMCSA pre-trip inspection on our trailer. And those are the big things that we're looking for. If you got any questions on the course or want some more information on checking that trailer or just doing a pre-trip inspection, feel free to give us a call, 906-789-6311. And once again, thank you for checking out Midwest Truck Driving School. For more content, hit that like button, hit that thumbs up button, and subscribe. We have new content coming out all the time. So thanks and have a great day. Take care.